Hey guys, it's Don here from Novaspirit Tech and welcome back to the channel. And today we are going to be checking out a $79 3D printer and if it's any good. So let's get started. To start, this video is not sponsored. This company does not know I'm doing this. I just saw this on Amazon the other day and thought it was a really cool $79 gift idea if this actually works out to the way I think it would. Obviously, for a $79 printer, you are not going to get a lot of the features the bigger printers are going to have, like heated bed, bigger surfaces, stuff like that. So we're going to try this and see how well it's going to work out. So yeah, I didn't even open this package, and it's still taped up and everything, but just judging from this package, this is a very, very light box. It actually feels like a toy. So let me see if I could find out. Oh, look, net weight is 1.3 kilograms. So it should be about 2.5 pounds or maybe 3 pounds. So this is really, really light. And according to the other side, you could actually get it in multiple colors. I just got whatever I saw, which was green and white. Not my first color of choice, but they do have like blue and white, black and white, and orange and stuff. I would probably prefer the orange. Now this printer is actually called the EasyThreed or Thread. I'm guessing that's what they're trying to do. This is the K1 version. There's a K2 with the touchscreen, but the K1 has only 3 or 4 buttons. Let's open this up and see what we get. And we're gonna put this together and see. Well, it's supposed to come pre-assembled. Not pre-assembled, like mostly assembled, and then you just have to put some of the stuff. Like the other 3D printers that I was playing around with, you do have to put the arms and the legs in, the x-axis, the z-axis, and all that stuff. So I'm thinking this is probably the same. Ooh. So, okay, it's got some styrofoam in there. I got the lid pretty much off, and let's see the package contents. This is the bed. Wow, it's actually very plasticky. I'm wondering if I could actually power this using a portable generator. Okay, don't slide it out this end. I should have flipped it to slide it out the other end because all the stuff is on the other end. But in the meantime, I'm just gonna take this instruction and put the box somewhere else. So let me see if I can flip this and kind of show you what we got in here. We got these little orange arms, probably for the filament, some sample filament, white PLA, and obviously without a heated bed, that's all we're going to be printing. We got the power brick here, which is 12 volts, 2.5 amps. Wow, this takes next to nothing to run. USB, SD card, a screwdriver, and about 8 screws in here. Okay, USB data cord. Wow, does this mean I could actually put Octoprint on this guy? That might be it. Let me see. Can I take... Okay, that doesn't come out on its own. Yep, it doesn't. So we got this wire that's here that goes directly to the head. And we got some arms over here. Okay, so it has to be 2 pieces like this. This is another styrofoam piece we don't need. This is the arm. So the z-axis. Okay, cool. This is all pre-built and it's belt driven. Okay, so I don't see, these are stepper motors, but they're really, really weak stepper motors. They're not the normal NEMAs that you would normally see. So they got the really tiny stepper motors in here, and it's belt driven z-axis. Axis, styrofoam piece, and wow, that is it. It's literally install this with 8 screws because it actually shows you where it goes, and you're done. Like that's how easy this thing is. Like I'm not even kidding. All right, let me pull this out from the bottom styrofoam. Whoa. I'm thoroughly impressed how small this is. So the print bed size is 100 by 100 by 100. So it's 4 inches by 4 inches by 4 inches. But the whole thing is plastic in construction. I'm going to screw this in together to see how sturdy it is. But everything is belt driven. The x-axis is belt driven. The y-axis, or either or, is belt driven. Z-axis is belt driven. You got these buttons, but no screen, so it's kind of hard to figure out how it's gonna print, because if you don't know what you're selecting, okay. And so far it feels stable. Adjustable bed, and whoa, this is magnetic. You got a magnetic bed. This is something that you would get like on an Ender 3 or Ender 5, a magnetic bed. I was hoping that, okay, the material, the surface of this is textured. So it's similar to the texture you would get on an Ender 3 or Ender 5, which is actually a pretty good adhesion, because in my mind I was thinking I was going to need painter's tape to actually create that adhesion. Then there's these 4 holes. I'm not sure if you can see those 4 holes, and there's 4 screws here. It kind of pops out on. So I get the point. Once I put it on, does it feel flush? Feels pretty flush. All right, let's install this. Comes with a screwdriver and more or less about 8 screws. Are there any different in screws? Nope, they're all the same screws. And there are 8 holes to screw this in. Can I screw this up? I probably can, because it doesn't have position locking, so you could kind of still have a little bit of a wiggle room when you're installing this. But this whole install is literally about 10 minutes. If, like, I haven't even really cut any part of this video, so about 10 minutes or so to install this whole thing. It goes right in, and it seems like they gave me, oh no, it's not extra screws, because I still got to install these arms, because I was like, wait, there's more than 8 screws in here. Okay, just getting through. Okay, so I didn't tighten all the screws yet. I just briefly just tightened it a little, and then now that I know everything is all in position, I could go ahead and tighten it. You probably want to use a little bit of a bigger screwdriver to tighten this, because I'm slipping from the matches, but you can definitely do it. So now I have 2 extra screws, and you know, funny to say, I did not even look at any of the instructions. So I'm guessing this goes here, because this has, it's a smaller width over here on the top. So I'm guessing this is where this would go. And I'm just gonna pop this in. Okay, pop this one in as well. And this probably goes across. A certain way to sit on it, yep, like this. And that's it, it locks in. Locks into position. This one was a little bit off, so I probably want to move this a little bit over. Connect. There's a lot of connectors. One for each side. Connected that. Connected this. Tiny little wires. Anything else I have to connect? You got the stoppers. That's connected. That's connected. This is connected. How come I feel like, no, actually this is all pre-connected. We are ready. Aside from a few styrofoam. So there was extra screws. Where am I supposed to put those? Okay, so according to the instruction, look how, this is too light. This is really feels like a toy. Look how small this thing is. Really feels like a toy. Okay, according to this, the basic parameters, extruded temperatures go from 180 to 230, which is pretty good, standard. Print speed is 10 to 40 millimeters per second, which is not too bad for this size. I mean, my Ender 5 prints at 80. The Neptune prints at 60. Print size, I already told you, 100 by 100 by 100. It could do STL and G code. Well, I'm guessing the STL because they have their own software, because this does come with its own software, or you could use Cura. Maximum power is 30 watts. Layer thickness is 0.05 to 0.2 millimeters in height. Machine size, working humidity. Okay, power and supply, slicing software easier. Okay, that doesn't really talk about much. You do have to save it to a SD card slot over here, so you could just press print. I don't know how to print yet, and why does this feel like it's locked? Like I can't manually move it. Either way, let's plug in the power and see how it goes. Okay, so let's press the home button. That's what it says, to level the bed. This will automatically find all the triggers to home. This is a little, you could probably snake this wire somewhere, but oh, this also has something called the quiet operation. I don't think it's running a quiet operation right now, but there is something called the quiet operation. Okay, I could tell you the bed definitely needs to be adjusted because I can't even slide a piece of paper under there. Let's see, what else do I need to do? How do I level the bed? Because these buttons don't have a screen. First time using the printer, you need to level the build platform. Please adjust the distance between the nozzle between the 4 points. I know that already. Click on home, then turn off the power. After turning off the power, then you can move the X and Y. Okay, so unplug. So there's no power switch, you just unplug it. I still can't move this. Oh wow, I can move it. It's really hard to move. Okay, so first off, I already know at this point it's really tight. So I'm gonna tighten this up to kind of get the nozzle down. There's like these little 4 notches on the bottom that you could just spin. Okay, there you go. Paper is flowing easy. This is like a quick start guide to my washing machine, but it's a little bit too big, so I'm gonna rip this paper up. There you go. So this is too loose. If you got like a huge gap, it's really loose. So I gotta loosen that up a little. Loosen that up a little bit more. Almost. Oh, it needs to tighten. Okay. There you go. Now I gotta do that side. Oh my god, this is so hard to move. This is really low. So keep going. Oh, there you go. You gotta feel a little bit of a grip. Like if it's too loose, like the paper will just free flow. Now let's get to that side. I'm gonna turn, so easy to move this printer. This is very, very loose. There you go. Got the tightness down. I'm almost afraid to move the nozzle like that. Okay, that's a pretty good distance. Get it in the center. That's not bad. Okay, it's not that bad. I did a quick adjustment. It seems like it's gonna work. The platform seems to be pretty good. It could be because this metal, this bed lifts up a little bit on the ends. And that's because the hole placement isn't perfect, which you could kind of like adjust. But once you get the placements of the actual bed, you're not going to be really using the corners. Well, maybe, but we are good. Everything is leveled. We are good to 3D print something. So I'm on my Ubuntu desktop right now, and if you go over to their website, EasyThreed or EasyThreed, you could actually download the slicer software that they have, but they don't have anything for Linux. They do have it for Windows and Mac. So maybe they have for Linux? No, I don't see it. So what I'm going to end up doing is actually importing my own into Cura. And it shouldn't be too hard, but I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to do it. So I go to Add Printer, Non-Network, and go over to Custom. And you want the custom FFF printer. And here's your printer name. So I'm going to call this the EasyThreed K1 because that's what it is. They do have profiles that you could download for Cura, which is the infill settings and all that other stuff, but they actually don't have the machine settings. So we already know it's going to be 100 by 100 by 100 rectangular. It doesn't originate in the center because when it was homing, it was towards the bottom right over here on this corner. No heated bed. Heated bed volume we don't have. I'm guessing it's Marlin, because most of them use Marlin, so I'm just gonna assume it's Marlin. Print head settings, I actually don't have the size of this. You can actually measure this out, figure out what you need, but most of the case, default is fine. Extruder 1, nozzle size 0.4, that's I believe what I read, and the filament is 1.75, and that is it. I'm gonna hit next. So we got this little tiny print size bed over here. So in the SD card itself, it already has 1 G code and 2 G code. I don't really know how it's going to be able to select between the two because it doesn't really offer any solution like what the file names are or how to do it. So I'm going to read this instruction super quick as far as like printing. Print, click the play button. The light will flash regularly. Print starts, Okay, load film, insert the filament into a print head tube. Okay, so you can't choose between all the G codes, but it will choose the latest one. through the timestamp. So what I'm gonna do is, what STL do they have in here? A little square cat. Okay, not interested in that. I'm gonna go over to Thingiverse and start printing something. I was trying to come up with this idea, the penguin case. This guy, I'm gonna leave a link to this, what I'm printing, down in the description below, but he has a customizer, so you could just customize whatever you want. One of the first things I do want to print is the latch. So the latch comes from Frog Box, and it's going to use this same exact latch. So I'm going to go thing file, lid, cam, hinge single. Yeah, I think it's the hinge that I need. So I'm going to download the STL for the hinge. And it's a small print, so it's a good test of this printer. I'm going to go over to downloads, import the hinge into here. Does that look about right? Yeah, that actually looks about right. And I am going to load this up with Filament and see if it's going to print this guy out. So let me change this around. I'm going to go over to Preferences, Cura, Profiles, and import a profile. And I downloaded this already, the Cura Slice profile. I'm just going to extract this here and hop over to here, Cura Slice profile, K1. That's the one I got, open. And I am going to use their profile, called the K1. Printing temperature, infill depth. I'm just going to leave everything as is because they got the speed set, wall speed, retraction rate, support. If it does need support, I don't think it needs support. Adhesion type, raft. I'm just going to do a skirt. And I'm going to hit slice. And let's see the preview for this. That's not too bad. Okay, it's going to take 18 minutes to print. I'm going to let this go and see how the adhesion and everything is. Save to removable drive. And let's pop over to the removable drive and check it out. It is about, there you go, CPFFF. It's the latest file. So it should be printing this. So even though it has a few things in there, it should be printing this. I am going to unmount this, pop this in to see how this, how well this real, actually I'm not going to pop it in yet. Let me plug it up. Press the play button and hold it so it should go upward, right? There you go. Hold it for 3 seconds, it goes up. It gives it a little bit of time. It's going to start heating it up no matter what. Ooh, styrofoam. Let me get that out of there. It's going to start heating it as soon as you plug it in. Okay, so to load the filament, which I am going to be using their white PLA, even though I have tons of filament that I could use. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully there's no knots in here because I'm not even checking. Pop this into a tube. Hit the plus button until it flashes. So it's flashing rapidly right now. I don't know if you could see that. Okay, so when you press the plus button, it's heating up. It's gonna flash until, flash for 1 minute, the nozzle is heating up. After the button lights off, like it turns off the light, the machine begins to feed and feed successfully. Silk like come out of the nozzle. Press plus button to finish the feed. Okay, so right now it's heating up the nozzle. It's gonna force feed into it. Press it again once, spaghetti starts coming out and you're done. Just for precaution, you make sure that you press this for 3 seconds to make the nozzle come up 3 millimeters. Oh, that was quick. It's feeding. I feel it. I feel the nozzle going in. Okay, I'm waiting for the stuff to come out right now. This is so light, I could just bring this around. I'm not even kidding. So now that it's flashing slowly, oh, there you go. You see the stuff coming out? Press it again, and I'll stop. Yep. At this point, I just take a little bit of tweezers, pull that out, click the play button. Now it's flashing. Oh, you know what? I don't have a file in here. Let's stick that in. Hit play. It's flashing. I guess I just wait here until it starts printing. Oh, there we go. Okay, since it didn't print what I wanted to print because probably the date was wrong, I don't know. I managed to get this print out, which is a little spacecraft, and I'm actually able to see how their printer works. And if you look in close, the lines are not perfect. I mean, it's there, it works, but you can see that there's still some wobble on the X and Y axes. So it's not perfect, but it is able to get my print out. Now, I'm gonna take this off the magnetic plate, and it just peels right off. And there we have it, our little tiny spacecraft. It's completely hollow, there's no infill in this. And once you remove the raft support, this bottom piece, the bottom came out pretty good. The inside came out, I don't know if you could see that, not perfect, but it came out all right. So I'm guessing it does really need a raft support because it did a pretty good adhesion, and you don't want things to curl or anything. So I might just change my design up a little just to put a raft support on the Pelican case that I'm trying to print. And here we go. I'm gonna start changing out the filament, print out the whole thing, and time lapse it and show you guys what it looks like. Alright guys, so we are finally done printing out this little Pelican case, or the penguin case as they call it online. And it took a total of about 7 or so hours, maybe 8 hours. I wasn't really counting because at one point I just let it print overnight. So I was actually confident enough to have this print overnight without any worries. So that's a good thing. Now, based on the print that we just finished, you definitely need to do some raft. Now, on the bottom part of the case and the top part of the case, I did not use rafting, and you do see a little bit of a warping on the edges. So because we don't have a heated bed, rafting is almost a must. So I would definitely recommend using rafting. Now, the print itself came out pretty decent. The lines were pretty straight. There were some indications of retraction settings being wrong. That's how come on this certain part you see like it's missing material because of the retraction. That's something you could do in the settings itself. Also on the top and bottom, there was a little bit of gaps when you're laying down the first layer. Again, that's also a setting. This is not a printer issue. It's more you could play around with the flow or play around with the retraction. So certain things like that would need to be tuned on this machine. Now this is also using a Marlin firmware, so we're also able to go inside the settings and actually play around with stepper settings and stuff like that just to fine tune it a little bit more. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, I could probably do a full tune on this guy just to get all those settings proper and get printings probably a little bit better than this. Another thing about this, the operations are extremely easy. There are only 4 buttons here. I thought I was going to have a problem. The first button is home, just to home everything down. Minus is to take out the filament. So once you press it, it's going to blink, heat up the hot end, and then it'll push the filament out, and then you're done. The plus button is the same but opposite. So it will heat up the hot end, and then it'll actually pull the filament through for like I think 50 millimeters. And once it's done stringing, it will stop itself, and that's it. The play button, there's 2 functions with that. Once you hit and hold it for 3 seconds, it'll actually lift up the nozzle end for about 1 centimeter or 10 millimeters. Or if you hit play, it will constantly blink, and it'll actually load the files and print whatever G-code you have in there. Now, how it works is that since you can't select the files, it'll actually choose the latest files. If you copied something over and the date stamp is later than whatever else is in there, that's the one that it's going to be printing. And there's no way of choosing previous files. So it's actually very simple operations. I couldn't believe how easy it is with just 4 buttons. I thought I really needed a screen. One thing I do wish they had was like a progress bar. Something like maybe some LEDs to tell me if it's halfway through or full way through. I can't tell when it's going to be done. I just got to wait. Now, for all the issues that I did find with this is sturdy, but not as sturdy as you think. It is easy to lift up and everything, but yes, once I have some sort of filament on here, the filament don't always fit. There's certain types of filament that will fit, and that's because this is not extended far enough. And then this starts pulling. Also, when it's trying to grab the filament, it does cause a little bit of a jiggle to this end. You could actually feel that there's like a little bit of like play. So every time when it needs to pull the filament, it causes a little line issue. That would help if we actually change this entire assembly for how the filament is held. Second thing, They say it's a quiet operation. This thing is not quiet at all. I even slowed it down a little bit just to play around with it for print speed, but it's still very, very loud. So that's out the window as far as quiet operation. Another thing that I was running into was the rear pulley, and as you can see, there's actually plastic forming there because it was rubbing against the top plastic. And I actually put in some dry lubrication on it just to reduce the noise, because there was a lot of noise coming from there, like a clicking noise. I believe there's something interfering with that, causing the plastic to shear off. So I do need to take this apart and probably readjust that little belt or adjust the pulley just so it's not touching the top. Another thing is I would highly recommend lubricating all the tubes, which I did not do for all these prints, but you could probably use dry lube just to lubricate all these for the bearings, because they are starting to see some scoring on there just from the bearings itself. Again, just a little bit of maintenance, probably get this guy up and running a little bit better. Other than that, I was thoroughly impressed on how well it actually printed the Pelican case. I'm going to put this together in a second to show you guys, but it printed it pretty well, more than I thought it would. The lines came out pretty clean, other than the certain spots that have that retraction setting problem. It looks proper. It doesn't look like it's messing up. I decided to go for something that's like about 60mm height, just so I could see, because this is so fragile, I was afraid the higher it goes, the lines wouldn't line up, and I don't see much indication of it. Maybe a slight indication that it's not like perfectly lined up, but it works really well. And honestly, I would actually recommend this to anyone who's trying to get into 3D printing, or like a holiday present for a kid. For $79, like I said, my son already claimed this. The bigger machines that I have, he finds a little bit intimidating. He'll tell me to print something if I need to, but this one he has no problem handling. He actually enjoys looking at it and playing around with this. Even though I have bigger machines, he would rather prefer this. And honestly, he's 9 years old, so he could probably handle this no problem. Now, because it doesn't have a heated bed, you're limited to only certain types of plastic that you can print, which is PLA, and PLA is biodegradable, so it's not going to be harmful if you smell it. It's the ABS and all the other plastics that will have an issue if you smell those. For our starter device and for playing around with little tiny designs like this, I think it's really well worth the $79, honestly. And with a little bit of tweaking, I mean, playing around with the proper settings, fixing up the Marlin firmware to get the better E-steps, properly maintaining all these beams with lube and everything, I think this will actually print a lot better once all that is done. So here we have it completely built, and it actually, the operations of it works really well. I could just push this down, click it, and it's sealed, well, sort of sealed. There's some little play because the screws that I'm using are not perfectly lined up, so I'm probably going to have to find the 20mm M3 screws, but for now it's a good placeholder that I could get it together, and this is how it looks like. And it opens up, got a little latch, and that is it. So let me know what your thoughts are on this guy. I thoroughly enjoyed using it because it was such an easy operation. It is fun because I could actually carry this around, like literally I could lift this entire thing with one finger, and it's a little gimmick where a $79 3D printer actually works properly well. If you guys have any questions about this, let me know down in the comments below and I can give it a try. Well, if you guys are new to this channel, consider subscribing. Also hitting that bell notification icon so you know when the next video is going to be out. And as I say in my nerd cave, hack till it hurts.